Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Jeremy Blair.
And I'm Rain Whalen. So, Jeremy, do you want to tell them, or do you want me to tell them?
I'll let them know. For our listeners, Zach, I got the job at UT Dallas, so I will no longer be living in Midland. In fact, at the time of this recording, my last day is tomorrow, and I leave.
Yes, so by the time this episode comes out, Jeremy will be in Dallas. Now, if you saw our update video, I'm sure Future Rain can link it.
Oh, maybe.
Somewhere. I mean, if you're watching, if you're listening, just... Jeremy's moving, but yeah. So this is our final in-person episode, but
for a while, who knows? Maybe we'll do a special in-person later on down the line.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I saw an idea. I was scrolling through Instagram the other day, and I saw an idea. It was literally the title of this podcast was called "Podcast But Outside." So they literally just set up a table outside, and they just
Can I tell you,
outside.
if we're talking fun podcast ideas, I was listening to How Did This Get Made? By the way, listen to How Did This Get Made? It's incredible. I've been listening to it for years. Thank you to Kale for introducing it to me way back when, maybe 2012, maybe. Jason Mantzoukas is on How Did This Get Made?
Love Jason Mantzoukas.
Him, Paul Scheer, and June Diane Raphael review bad movies, right? But Jason Mantzoukas, they did Ambulance a couple weeks ago with Jake Gyllenhaal, and apparently it's awesome, and I have to say it, but because it's just so wild and stupid and ridiculous, but fun, right? Sorry, excuse the noise.
Sorry, everyone. The kids outside playing, and my dogs are.
It's fine. So Jason Mantzoukas is on How Did This Get Made, right? And and at the end they're promoting stuff that they've been on or plugging things. He was on a podcast called Two Johns Don't Make a Right. And it's these two comedians, they're both named John. They put their guest in the car and they only make left-hand turns while they drive around and chat.
You know, when
that's so fucking funny.
When we were going to Dallas for your bachelor party, I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to put it on hold. And then someone, I don't remember who, but someone was like, or you could just like do it in the car.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Which is possible to do it in the car. Those guys do it in the car. I love the concept of we just don't make right-hand turns.
That's hilarious.
Holy Jesus. I think about it once a week at least since I've heard about that. It's so funny.
That actually really is funny.
I know.
But I mean, but anyway.
Listen, how I sort of, when we were trying to get a format together and trying to figure out what it is that we do and how do we present the show, how do we put it, how do we edit it, stuff like that. I took a lot of influence from Enter the Void. I've talked about them before. They did theirs from I think it was like one was in California, one was in New York, and that's how they did the entire show. They had one episode when they were in the same room.
Really?
Yeah. But they were in different cities the entire time. And
I'm pretty sure we said it in the update video. It was bound to happen eventually.
Yeah.
Because
you were going to move like a year and a half ago.
Well, we're hoping next summer, 2024, we will be in Austin.
Which is a shorter drive, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah. So we're not ending the podcast, but it'll just be a while before we're back in person. Yep. Maybe I'll come see you. Because I am letting you leave with your mic. I know I've already given you another mic, but that one sounds better.
All right, fine.
So
I'll take it. Is it sort of the same deal? I just plug it in?
Yeah, you'll just have to use the arm. Because I don't think it came with a small... Or I think it did come with a small stand. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come.
Yeah, we'll deal with that.
Now, before we get started on our final in-person episode, for now, I just wanted to talk about this real quick.
Okay.
Mainly because I knew it was going to upset you. But also because I'm just genuinely excited for this movie.
Sure.
The new trailer for Wes Anderson's new movie, Asteroid City, dropped, and it looks great.
I talked about it with some people at work, and and thank God all three of us were like, "Nah, we're good." We all don't care for Wes Anderson movies.
I am so excited because I loved his previous movie, The French Dispatch, which in my opinion is the most Wes Anderson.
This
movie.
one looks to top it.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
The French Dispatch. Okay, he formatted the film because The French Dispatch is a magazine in France, which is an American-run magazine. It's backstory. We'll never get to do an episode. So anyway, but he formats the movie like the magazine, so it's told through vignettes, and that's why the cast is so huge because each writer has their own story and the people they interact with. My favorite one is the one with Timothée Chalamet because like he's like a student causing like a revolt against the teachers, and it's really good.
Sure.
But this movie, I wouldn't, from what I've seen, I wouldn't still call it the most Wes Anderson movie.
But it's so pastel.
But it looks like it's going to take place in one area. Yes, it has of his films, it has the biggest ensemble cast. I mean, the fact that he got Tom Hanks to finally be in one of his movies.
Oh, Tom.
Unreal. Shut up.
All right.
It's going to be great.
Sure.
He has an Oscar. You know that, right?
I do. Yeah. I mean, listen, I've said it before. I don't think he's a bad filmmaker, right? I just don't like his stuff.
But I'm so excited because now that this movie's done, he can finish up his next movie. I think it's The Wonderful World of Henry Sugar. It's going to be another animated movie. It's based on a book. And it's got Benedict Cumberbatch as Henry Sugar.
Okay.
But I just wanted to get it out, mainly because I am genuinely excited, but I knew because you wouldn't like it. When I showed Ashley the trailer, she was like, okay, because she didn't like The French Dispatch, because she was like, it was too long, it was boring, and I was like, I loved it. Of course, I have it.
Speaking about long and boring, we'll get to it in a second.
Oh, my God. But yeah, when I showed her the trailer, she was like, okay, that I'm really excited for.
Well, no, because I didn't watch the trailer. I like Facebook and like Instagram and TikTok try to make me, and I'm like, no. But it's fine. A nice palate cleanser. We got the first Barbie trailer.
I was about to say, did you see the first Barbie trailer?
And yeah, that looks pretty rad.
Okay. I'm sure Zach or anyone else thinks that we're joking. I'm actually very excited.
No, I'm excited.
I'm so excited for the movie. Yeah, the comedy looks so good. The whole like, maybe I should stay over and do what? Honestly, I have no idea.
Ryan Gosling gets, I hope he gets credit, but I feel like he gets no credit for being hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's probably one of the funniest.
Watch
actors.
Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love. The Nice Guys.
Oh my God, The Nice Guys. Dude.
The Nice Guys is...
For sure, that's a future episode.
It's one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Fucking Shane Black, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, I loved the whole beach off joke. No. I'll beat you off. Like, it's so good. And I just recently learned, because Ashley hasn't been feeling well, so we had to go to a clinic to have her looked at, see what's going on. It's mainly sinus stuff, but sure. She saw an article that said that originally Amy Schumer was supposed to be not only the writer of the movie, but she was supposed to play Barbie.
Yes.
And look, no offense to Amy Schumer.
No, it can be offensive.
I don't really think she's that funny. Trainwreck, I think, is the best thing I've seen her in, and that's not just because of her. That's because of Judd Apatow. There were really good sketches Inside Amy Schumer. Yeah. I was like, well, it's a good thing that, one, Greta Gerwig took over. Yeah. And co-wrote it with her husband, Noah Baumbach, and they got Margot Robbie. I think those are your two wins.
Absolutely,
right there. I think it's going to be great. It looks so funny.
All right, what are you seeing first, Oppenheimer or Barbie?
I know.
Same day, man.
Fuck. We'll just leave the theater and go right over to see.
I am seeing. I told Haley because the trailer when we went to go see John Wick 4, she went with me very graciously. Thank you, honey. I love you.
But now you have to show her the other three. So
she kind of wants to because she really did enjoy it.
That's good.
They played the Oppenheimer trailer. And
so many good movies coming out this year,
and
guys.
I said, I mean, you don't get a choice. We're going to see it. She goes, no, that looks interesting. I go, done. That's all you had to say. Bye.
It's legally binding. We're going to see it.
No takebacks. Because during the trailer, sorry, we'll get to the movie in a minute.
Hang on, everyone.
In the trailer, she goes, and genuinely it surprised me too. She goes, was that Josh from Drake and Josh? I go, it was Josh from Drake and Josh.
Yeah, Josh Peck is
Peck's in it.
I'm pretty sure he's only going to be in it for like 10 minutes.
Maybe, but, and of course, Matt Damon.
RDJ.
Robert Downey Jr. And so she's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so many good movies coming out this year. God, and so soon too, man. June, that's literally 3 months away.
I'll do you one better. At the end of the month, we get Beau is Afraid.
Oh my God, that's right.
At the end of the month.
Okay, so this will be the final one, I promise everyone, and then we will get into the episode. Everyone knows how I feel about Ari Aster, but I am so excited for Beau is Afraid because I think it's because it's not a horror. He doesn't consider any of his movies horror, which that's a fucking cop out. But I'm not here to get started on that. But when I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, yeah, this doesn't feel like a horror. Like when I saw the Hereditary trailer and the Midsummer trailer, I was like, yeah, these are horror movies. Yeah. This doesn't feel like that. And it does, and everything on all the behind the scenes stuff they've released, I'm like, okay. I'm so excited for this.
He's called it Jewish Lord of the Rings.
Jewish Lord of the Rings, which sold. Even though Lord of the Rings, I mean, anyway.
It's already really Jewish.
Jewish. Even though I don't think Tolkien was Jewish, but
he wasn't.
But yeah, sold. I was sold instantly.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yes.
And I think that'll be the one Ari Aster movie we could bond over because I didn't finish Hereditary, and that's
I'm still so mad.
That's on mic. Like that episode, I openly admit to it. Never finished it.
We
were like 45 minutes in.
No, I know, but I don't remember if Alex was there for that because
no, he wasn't.
He had nothing to bounce off of. I don't remember. It was
and then
2
I
years
refused to watch Midsummer. I just refuse because it's not my brand of horror.
It's too good.
But also, I'm sorry.
You already said that was the last.
I'm sorry.
time?
This is the last one. Did you see that they released the cast list for Maxine?
Yes.
Yes. Maxine, the third movie in the X universe, whatever Ty West is.
Yeah, whatever Ty West wants to call it.
Anyway.
The X-Force.
The X-Force.
X-Force.
Did he just refer to himself as God? I think he did. Shout out to Deadpool 2. So the movie, Jeremy.
Right. Okay. So if you've made it this far, besides our banter, you're watching this episode, you have made it through a 4.5 hour film.
Well, and they just sat through probably 15 minutes of us. So now you know what it was like.
Well, okay. First off, Dr. Mabuse the Gambler, Fritz Lang, 1922. Okay. So I heard about this movie by just going through Fritz Lang's filmography because I was such a huge fan of M. And, of course, through our culture, and through being a fan of film, I've always seen the Metropolis robot. You know, I've always seen that imagery.
Shout out to our Metropolis episode. And
so after I saw both of those, I was like, okay, like now I have to, find more about this guy. So found Dr. Mabuse, Spies, Woman in the Moon, and then I was like, then he did M, and then he did the sequel to Dr. Mabuse, which we'll get to that, and then he started doing film noirs, right? Because what's the closest thing to German Expressionism? Film noir, right?
Well, and that's because he had migrated to America. Correct?
That's right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. My history might be wrong. The Nazis wanted him to make propaganda films, correct? And he was like, no.
The Nazis loved Fritz Lang. They, I think Adolf Hitler either loved Metropolis or he loved M. I don't remember which one it was, but he was like, it's like one of my favorite movies. Would you please make propaganda?
And he said no. And he promptly got the fuck out of Germany.
Yeah, he did the sequel to Dr. Mabuse and then he left.
Yeah. But anyway, so before we get into everything, I do want to openly admit to you.
Okay.
Because as of this recording, I literally finished the movie an hour ago. I was getting so fatigued during the first part.
I get it.
I almost told you, like, yeah, I finished the movie, Jamie, and wasn't going to watch the last half. But I was like, no, I'm going to stick it out because I have The Human Condition on my wish list.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a 9-hour-long movie, and I'm willing to sit through that. But I was like, if I'm willing to sit through that, then I need to sit through this.
Yeah.
I think the reason why, which we'll get into more, I think the reason why it was so much fatigue is because it's a silent film.
Yes.
So all we have to go on is the score and context clues. And
I tend to, I don't know if it's just because I've always been sort of this, like, it's not the original, you know? Right? So it's like, well, it's not the original score. It can't be, right?
Right.
Unless, like, the print came with music accompaniment.
Right.
Right? So I tend to try not to let the score sway me anyway, right? It does automatically. We're puppets to that, right?
Right.
We can't help it. Music will always sway our emotions no matter what, right? In films.
Well, and I told you I finally watched this, but to prepare myself for it, even though I probably should have not done another movie, I finally watched The Kid.
Yes.
To prepare myself, because I mean, this isn't the first silent film we've done on the show.
No, it's not, which is crazy. Right?
I know, yeah. Metropolis, and then The Phantom Carriage, and then
Destiny.
Destiny, yeah. So, but I still was like, I need to prepare myself for this. So I had a plan to watch The Circus right after The Kid ended, but I was busy doing other things, so I just watched The Kid.
By the way, isn't it just crazy that that's Uncle Fester? Jackie Coogan, he's the kid, by the way. In the 1960s Addams Family, that's who that is.
No shit.
Yep. That's Jackie Coogan. Yeah.
That's wild. That is wild.
Yeah. Anyway. So, I completely understand. Okay, I found myself glancing down at my phone every once in a while, and I'm like, shit, no, quit.
Because I did that a lot.
Because it's like, I can't. I have to read. Right? Yeah. This film, first off, the way I watched it is completely different from how you watched it, right? Which is perfect, because I'm glad we did it that way so we can compare, right? And contrast, because the way I did it was I was going to split it up, right? Either way, I was going to split it up. I was going to do half one day, half the next day, okay?
Right.
I watched the first half. I texted you. I said, hey, man, are you cool recording?
I was not ready.
And you were not ready, which is fine. And so we decided to wait a week. We were ahead, by the way.
Yeah, we were ahead. So
it's movie magic for you. And so I was like, cool, we're ahead. It's not a big deal. We can afford to
wait
stop
a week. Yeah.
Right. But I didn't watch it the next day. I waited till yesterday, right?
Right.
And so I waited a full week. So I had a closer experience to what the original 1922 audiences had, which is they waited a month, right?
Okay.
Between both parts, right? Which is why you get the recap, right?
Right.
In the second half. We'll get to yours in a minute.
Okay.
I can't tell you how much I loved how the movie started. With the manipulation of the stock market. Well, this one particular stock, right?
Right.
Which is actually how it works, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. It's tremendous. It is truly a crime drama at this point. It's a crime film. And I loved it, right?
I realized, though, we just kind of glossed over the synopsis.
Oh, sorry.
Well, here, I'll do it since it's my turn to do the synopsis of the season. Real quick. Dr. Mabuse, the gambler. Dr. Mabuse is the leader of a crime syndicate, pretty much, in Berlin. He has the powers of manipulation, hypnosis, essentially Inception before before we realized it had a term.
Sure.
And he's got backup plans to contingency plans to make sure we get this guy, that guy. But ultimately, it is sort of his reach that is his undoing, as we see in part 2. And I think that's why part 2 was called the Inferno, because that's when sort of all hell breaks loose. And that's really the synopsis.
Yeah,
really.
there's a cat and mouse. With the
prosecutor.
With the prosecutor chasing him down. I loved that he's a master of disguise.
We'll get to that. Yeah. But anyway, that's Dr. Mabuse the Gambler. Continue.
Okay. So I loved how the movie started, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting the hypnosis and the suggestion and all of that. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting this to be more of a straightforward crime drama, which it's not terrible, right? I don't mind it.
Well, and it's not like a superpower kind of thing.
No,
it's more of a he pulls it out when he needs it.
Right. He is an accomplished psychoanalyst. Psychoanalyst.
I was like, is that what you're going for?
Yep, that's the word I was trying to find. My degree is in psychology. I should know that. And so he acquired these abilities that way, right?
Right.
That's fine. I can get over that.
Right. He wasn't bitten by a radioactive psychiatrist, and and I should have suspected before I watched the movie that hypnosis maybe had something to do with it, because as we were talking about off mic, maybe doing the sequel, The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, the Criterion cover, maybe hopefully future Rain will put up an image maybe across the screen. His eyes they look like
those swirly
the swirlies from what you think of when you say, "Oh, I was hypnotized."
Yeah.
So. Yeah, going into it, I should have known, but I still was like, "Oh, he can hypnotize people."
Yeah, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
right?
But anyway,
okay. So after the stock market thing, let's explain.
Okay.
So, what he does, which is genius, there are these two companies that are coming to an agreement, I believe, of either merger or whatever.
Yeah, it was Sweden and.
Oh yeah, there were countries, I guess.
I don't remember.
And
that was over 4 hours ago.
That's true. It was over a week ago for me. So, but anyway, they have this documentation for this agreement, and Dr. Mabuse ensures it's stolen, right? Mm-hmm. And because it's stolen, right? Because there is this uncertainty, doubt that this will go through, right? This agreement. Mm-hmm. The stock starts to plummet, right? People are selling all of their shares from the stock because they don't know if it's going to be resolved. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't get resolved, then the stock is worthless anyway, right?
Right.
And so it's crazy how the stock market works. It really does work that way, to where it can just be outside information can really just plummet the stock. It has nothing to do with like actual numbers and income and data. It can be rumors and hearsay and things outside of hard numbers and data. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and I think that's still...
It still is.
Still is, especially with, like cryptocurrency, It
doesn't make any sense to me. But so anyway, the stock plummets. And when it's at its lowest, Dr. Mabuse, in disguise,
says he's going to buy it.
He buys stock in the company. And then he ensures that the agreement, the documentation for the agreement is recovered.
Found.
Right, is recovered. So now the stock is up, all the way up to like 3,000 or whatever it was. And then he sells and makes a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
Which is genius, right? Again, love how the movie starts, right?
Yeah.
And then we get that cool superimposed shot of his face at the stock exchange floor and all that stuff.
Yeah, after cool. Everyone's left. Yeah,
that was so cool. Awesome. We're going to get a lot of that, which I really like.
Yeah. If we didn't speak about it enough with Destiny or even The Phantom Carriage, a lot of these effects that these directors were using in the 20s, amazing.
And then we'll get to, other stuff like the dude's, the Count's hallucinations at his house while he's being kept there all alone for days and days.
Yeah.
He starts hallucinating himself and these ghostly figures. Holy Jesus. Anyway, so after that initial, I guess, prologue, now we're getting into the actual story. Mm-hmm. Because at first I thought all of these acts were going to be just anthologies of just different things that he's doing, right? Yeah. But then it all starts to string together into one story.
Yeah, because after that, he decides to try to ensnare a millionaire's son. Mm-hmm. Hull. Yeah, I was going to say his full name, but
I don't
they
know.
all just call him Hull.
Yeah.
Mr. Hull or Hull. Because he's got all these people in his employ. He's got assassins, he's got chauffeurs, and of course he's got women, and he pretty much tells one of his women romance him, and that way he can weasel his way into his life.
Yeah.
And steal all his money. Which he steals all his money at, not really poker, but at cards.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the first step, really.
Right, and this is where we first get this hypnosis detail in the film, and I like how they do it. Right, it's again, Fritz Lang is a master of visuals, because the way that we're getting these visual interpretations of Mabuse getting into his mind and controlling it and manipulating his thoughts and making him fold or thinking that he lost, and he really has the best cards, right? Amazing. Right. Once Hull's story is sort of over, he dies. Who cares?
Oops.
We're yada-yada through so much, but it's it's a lot, right? This movie is 4.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, don't trust IMDb.
Yeah,
Jeremy told me it was only going to be 4, and it was longer than 4.
4.5, yeah. And, him and Mabuse also taking control over these women's lives and turning them against each other and trying to find out what the other one knows and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Eventually, Hull does end up dying. I'm really having a hard time remembering how he died. Car crash?
I think it was a car crash.
Car crash.
Yeah. Car crash.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, of course, Mabuse is manipulating, right? He's manipulating all this stuff. He really does have a far reach, right? In wherever they are.
I think it's Berlin. When I looked at it said it was Berlin.
Okay.
So.
In Berlin.
I mean, we could have just been saying Germany the whole time.
Sure, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I forgot where I was going, but
we were still kind of talking about the anthologies of the acts.
Yes,
but then things start to thread together
with Hull. Yeah,
with Hull and the introduction of the prosecutor.
Yes,
I feel like the prosecutor is where the story starts to then veer into a linear storyline.
Well, let's see if I can find his name real quick, because
he should be like the first one.
It's Bernard Goetsky.
Anyway, as we've remembered, he played Death in Destiny. He played
Death in Destiny, right? And of course, Rudolph Klein Rouge,
sure,
whatever. He was also in Destiny, and he is also in Metropolis. He plays Dr. Mabuse, by the way.
As I was telling you off mic, we picked a lot of movies. We picked the movies we picked from these directors. A lot of the same actors show up in most of them.
Yes, we picked
pretty much all of them.
We picked filmmakers that like to work with the same people.
Man,
right?
Imagine if one of us had picked Quentin Tarantino.
Oh yeah, I mean,
fucking Harvey Keitel and everything. And fucking...
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, with the introduction of the prosecutor, it seemed like that's when the story veers more linear and stays on this one singular story.
And now once we are introduced to the prosecutor through Hull, right?
Because he's expecting Kara. I know her first name is Kara.
Yeah.
Well, he's expecting her, but the prosecutor shows up.
Yeah.
And is like, I know you've been targeted by, of course, they don't know who's doing this. They refer to Dr. Mabuse before they realize that's who it is as the great unknown. He's like, we know you've been targeted by him, so you're under our protection now.
Right.
Which is wild. They knew almost immediately, like, yep, he's been tapped. We need to get on this.
Well,
now.
and again, when we first meet Dr. Mabuse, he's going through those cards and they're his disguises, right? He's been doing this a long time, right? Yeah. That he has all these people in his pocket, and he goes all around the city, and he's got that counterfeiter den with the blind men.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a lot of, and this is only on my mind because I just recently watched a video of it that was just uploaded, was in the first episode in the first season of the Netflix Daredevil show, when we see Madame Gao with the blind people making the heroin packets.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of reminded me of. So I was like, I wonder if they took inspiration from Dr. Mabuse.
Maybe.
That'd be cool.
It would be cool. By the way, I think the best example of German expressionism we get is that stairway to get to that den, which is so cool because you have the building so close, and then you have just that narrow stairway. Yeah. It looks so cool. That I really liked. Not much is extreme German expressionism, right? Like, it's not going to get as weird as Caligari, right?
Which, I'm not going to lie, I know we're kind of all over the place right now.
Yeah, we are.
But I do want to see the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
It's great.
Mainly just because fucking Nick Cage and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, that's like his favorite movie.
It's really good.
I did also recently watch Paddington 2.
Are you serious?
It's amazing.
I want to see it so bad. Did you watch the first one first?
No.
You went straight into Paddington 2?
Quentin put it on at the store, and I was like, why the fuck are you putting on Paddington? And then I was like, oh my God.
Did you cry?
Almost. Story for off mic.
Okay.
But anyway.
Sorry.
Anyway, yes, I want to see Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. But anyway.
No, it's great. And of course, that's, got the walls painted for shadow and all that stuff.
Yeah, and Ashley was kind of pseudo paying attention before she took a nap. Because again, she wasn't feeling good. But she was like, I could tell she was kind of like, that's... And I was about to start telling her, like, well, yeah, they painted shadows on the sets. But then she fell asleep. So I was like, okay. And now I'm all alone.
This doesn't have as much of that, right?
Yeah, because I was really trying to be like... I was trying to look, but it felt like Fritz Lang, for this one, was using more lighting and more... Because it almost felt like he's really trying to accentuate the crime. And
he doesn't want it to be, like, uncanny, right? He doesn't want it to be sort of surreal, right? Caligari is supposed to be.
Well, and especially, like, Metropolis.
Metropolis does have a lot of German expressionism, right? Yeah. Because it's supposed to, right? Especially with the scientist. That's
which is also...
the height of the expressionism. But they talk about expressionism in the movie during that dinner party with the Count.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Which I thought was funny. But, okay. Stay on track. Okay. Focus.
Yeah, we have 4 hours of movie to go through.
Well, and a lot of it is really just what we now understand is just run-of-the-mill crime drama stuff, right? Because we're setting up accomplices, we're setting up the resistance, we're setting up, how far does this crime syndicate go? How much power does this guy have, right? Mm-hmm. So we're getting all of that together, and it culminates to the finale of the first part, right?
Yeah, so if you bought the Kino Lorber physical copy like I have, it's actually in 2 discs, which honestly makes it less daunting because, like I was saying, I was starting to get fatigue during that first 2 hour, 54-minute disc.
Yeah.
But once I popped in the second one and saw that it was only an hour and 54, I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and how the first part ends with all the reveals and all the plans that he has in place.
Right. Because he lost Hull, right?
Yeah.
And so because he lost Hull, which it was on purpose, but now he has to find a new victim, right?
Right,
and
yes, because he didn't want to have to kill Hull, but since the prosecutor was getting so close and had already gotten Hull over to his side, he was like, well...
And much better, and he's much better than anticipated, right? He's not expecting the prosecutor to be this good.
Right, because I did want to talk about this.
Right.
I love that we really got to see what it looks like when he hypnotizes someone.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking love that. That was so cool. But then the prosecutor resists the hypnosis, and thankfully Dr. Mabuse is a smart man, and it's like, all right, I got to get out of here.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
Which we get this really cool chase. Which I was going back to the kid. I was watching the documentary with Jackie
Coogan?
Yes, yeah, Jackie Coogan, and he was saying how movies in that time there needed to be a chase. So of course, that's all I could hear. It was like, oh, they had to put in a chase, but it's really good.
Yeah,
because you think Dr. Mabuse gets away, you think the prosecutor is going to give up, like, oh, he got away in a car.
Yeah.
But no, he commandeers a stagecoach and then commandeers a car because he's not going to let up. He wants to know who this guy is.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the car he commandeers is driven by one of Dr. Mabuse's henchmen.
Yeah.
So he was never going to catch him anyway.
Right.
Which I really liked. Again,
far-reaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. The first part, I think the reason why part one is I think the reason why it felt so daunting is because there is a lot of information that's being thrown at us about Dr. Mabuse, about what the prosecutor's up to, all the different plans and sub-plans that Dr. Mabuse has. And, you know, if we had just done like this, if this was just the movie, like if part one was just the movie, it already is the longest silent film I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours, the first part.
Yeah. And I think that's why it felt so daunting and why I was like, oh,
I get it 100% because you take all of that information, right? It's a very complex crime story, right?
Right.
I have to pay so close attention to Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy because I am so bad with names and I am so, so I'm having to do, this is completely silent. So we're not used to it, right? Yeah. People of our lifetime, of our generation, of this, whatever, the last two generations.
Yeah, because this is a 101-year-old movie.
Which is still insane. We're still talking about movies that are 100 years old.
Yeah.
In this season.
I saw that this movie came up on a 100 Greatest Movies to Watch Before You Die.
Yes.
So now I can say that I have watched it.
1,000, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, it's Leonard Maltin's book, I think. But yeah, so you take all that information and it's so difficult to keep track of it because you're also having to read overlapping text.
Yes. I don't know if it's like this if you find this movie digitally.
By the way, YouTube for free. So could have done that. You can still do that.
But was it like that on YouTube where the text was overlapping?
I didn't watch it on YouTube for free. I have the Kino Lorber.
I assumed that's...
I'm rich. I have the Kino Lorber.
You're rich that you bought a $20 Blu-ray.
It was $20 at the time, yeah.
I think that's how much.
Oh, is it still $20?
I think, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, no. At one point, I did feel like I needed to be Charlie Day and have my fucking thread. But I was just like, you know what? I have a feeling that a lot of this is going to get answered.
Yeah.
Which thankfully part 2 does.
Yeah.
Part 2 is less daunting, mainly because it's all the effects.
Yes.
Which, to be honest, I liked the last half the most.
Sure.
And I think it's because, one, yes, it is a whole hour shorter, but we are seeing the effects of how the prosecutor has essentially thrown a wrench into Dr. Mabuse's plans. With Kara going to prison and then them sending in the Countess to try to get information out of her, but they couldn't. And now Dr. Mabuse has the Countess and
has isolated the Count, right? Mm-hmm. Now he is, because he's so dumb. He's just like, listen, you got to stay here, and you can't talk to anybody.
Yeah. Don't do anything.
Like, sorry, not sorry. Bye. See you tomorrow.
And I think that's why I like the second half so much.
And you were
more.
talking about the effects of the actions in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
What about just the fucking filmmaking effects, bro?
Yeah,
in
dude.
this part, it's just over the top. It's so good.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially when we get to see that that one of his personas is a magician that specializes in hypnosis.
Yeah.
And that fucking where he like makes people appear out of a desert.
Yes.
So it very reminiscent of Destiny during the not so sensitive Chinese part of the story.
Yes.
When he lifts up his gown, and that's what it reminds me.
It's unbelievable, and it's like, how did he do that? I was trying to think. Okay, in a production way of thinking, you would cut out of the theater. You would build a similar sound or a similar stage outside, and just have people walk through it and make it look like it's still inside. But
then how do you get the background?
But how do you get the background?
Yeah.
Well, it's because it would be open, right? And you would make the stage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You would just make the shell of the stage for the outside, right? And so you could have people walking from 100 yards away, right? And that's still fine.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that. It was so cool and very effective. The animation of the word when the prosecutor was under hypnosis and was going to drive off the cliff. What the fuck? That was so cool. Yeah. I was like, oh, he's doing animation now, bro? Like, it was rad.
Yeah, man. Like, again, okay. I know we usually save these for either the top of the show or the end of the show. I didn't hate the movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, we completely forgot to do that.
It's okay. It's okay. We have so much to cover. Like, I didn't hate the movie.
We're not even fucking close.
Didn't hate the movie. I mean, we're not done, people. So if you made it this far,
congrats,
but we're still not done. So I didn't hate it. There were things I loved, like I mentioned a second ago, with like the Phantom Carriage and Destiny, how they were pulling these effects off. You know, like in the 40s and 50s, it made sense because they would use matte paintings or glass sheets with things written on them that are in the frame, but you can't see the glass, but it's like, well, this is the 20s. I don't think they were thinking of those things yet.
And then there was a scene before the Count starts hallucinating himself, which again, fucking, I don't know how you did that. It was so cool. But he was drawing, there were drawings on the film strip as effect, right? I assumed to give it an animation look, he would just draw like a translucent, whatever it was to make it look, like shadows or wind or something going on inside the mansion or wherever he was living, which I thought was very cool. But then once, he not only has one hallucination of himself, but 5. Yeah. Right? All at the same table, all doing different things.
Yeah, man.
All within the same shot. I don't know how to do it. It would just take forever.
Yeah, I mean...
think that's why I think... I don't know how, because I don't want to think about how much work it took.
Yeah, because more than likely they would have probably had to film him 5 different times, doing different things. But then, like, how do you double expose all of that?
You have to overlay all of it together.
Yeah,
right.
It's insane. I know, man. It's truly insane, the level of just not only craftsmanship but just.
I mean, it's just pure creativity, right? But it's not just creativity, because you also have to be like an engineer, right at that time. Because I heard this years and years and years ago, and I loved the way it sounded. It's filmmakers today are artists. Filmmakers back then were inventors, right?
That's true. Yeah, because if you like, I'm only gonna use this as an example because my eyes hit it. Lord of the Rings. That is a combination of both practical and computer generated most of everything in that movie. But we probably wouldn't have got there if people like Fritz Lang and Victor, the director of Phantom Carriage, weren't figuring these things out then.
Right.
I don't think we would have, Marvel movies that are filmed in a giant space with LCD screens everywhere to make more of a seamless
right
digital, like a seamless virtual space. Like, yeah, like the volume is fucking crazy. Like, how did they do that? And it's probably because of the movies and filmmakers that were trying to figure it out then.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
Yeah. It's just, it's incredible ingenuity.
Yeah.
I want it to look like this. How can we do it?
Yeah.
Right.
That's something, kind of touch on. Oh, and this isn't, sorry, I just realized we've also technically did A Trip to the Moon.
Oh, that's true.
Which is older. That was
1902.
Yeah. But the reason I brought that up is because with Hugo, when we're getting those flashbacks to how Georges probably made the movies, that's probably very accurate to how these movies were made.
Yes. Also, watch Babylon.
That's right. That's out now.
Watch Babylon. It's on Paramount Plus if you have that, but also it's out on Blu-ray 4K. So definitely check that out because that's how.
That's during the golden age of Hollywood, right?
It's
like
during
40s?
No, it's during 26 and 27.
Oh.
So, and then a little beyond that. But we're making silent films and that's it, to where, oh shit, now we have to learn how to be quiet and make a movie at the same time. Because back then, you could be as loud as you wanted to. It doesn't matter, right? So you could be filming 5 or 6 different movies at the same time in the same location. It doesn't matter because you can't hear the other people.
But then when talkies,
you have to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where sound stages came from. And guys, Babylon does such a beautiful job. Damien Chazelle not only knows jazz, but he knows filmmaking, because the way he shows how painstakingly complicated it was to even get one take in sound during that time. Holy Jesus,
Yeah.
Oh, there go your dogs again.
Sorry, everyone. Ashley's probably got the blinds to the back door open, so
oh boy, who knows? But anyway, so
so
the silent films. So
yeah,
so the production, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember why I would talk about the
because we were geeking out over how
we were geeking out about
how did he do any of this,
the 6 of those one guy in that shot, which is incredible. Also, this is jumping ahead a little bit, and we'll circle back, but the anthropomorphic machines at the end, I don't even know if you were even paying attention to that.
Yeah. When Dr. Mabuse is hella hallucinating,
is really hallucinating pretty bad. I mean, is that just not what Metropolis will become? Because that's what he ended up doing in Metropolis, is creating these hallucinations of these machines being alive and being these beings and these gods. Mm-hmm. Right?
Was Metropolis before or after that?
After.
Oh, damn. So this was sort of like his test area.
This was 5 years before.
Oh, okay.
And so when he was doing that, I'm like, holy Jesus, that's what he's going to perfect in Metropolis.
Yeah. I mean, again, shout out to our Metropolis episode.
Yeah, definitely.
If you want to hear us geek out about that, because how did he pull off half of that shit? I don't know either. But
Metropolis, by the way, does not feel like a silent film.
No, there's so much going on.
This one did, just because, again, like other crime dramas, this isn't the only one that has lulls, right? Mm-hmm. That has sort of a dip in being interesting, you know. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I honestly, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I got bored in places, and I think that's okay. This is long form silent film storytelling, right?
100%.
Fritz Lang took note from France. They were doing serialized silent filmmaking for crime for crime stories in Les Vampires or Les Vampires and La Fantemas, the Phantoms. Right? Those were two serialized stories, long form stories about these crime syndicates in France. And he goes, "Oh, we can do that. There are these novels about this Dr. Mabuse guy. Let's do this."
Yeah.
You know?
Well, in sidebar, I just realized this. I don't think I've ever mentioned this. I have seen a silent film before we did Metropolis. The original Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
My mom exposed me to that one. That was wild.
Lon Chaney, 1925.
I barely remember anything from it.
Well, the reveal, right?
Yeah.
The
the face reveal.
It's so rad. Right? Yeah.
Lon Chaney, Man of a Thousand Faces.
That's right.
Dude, sorry, sidebar. Ashley and I were at Target
Sure.
the other day, and they had, you know how there's like those collectible action figures, you know, of like characters from movies and shit. They had one of Bela Lugosi's Dracula.
Cool.
And Ashley saw it and she's like, "Oh, do you want that?" I was like, "Don't tempt me."
I'll buy it right now.
I was like, "I will buy it right now." Because that's the story for another day, dude. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting us off track, and I need to keep us on track. Okay, so like I was saying, I do like that part 2 is called Inferno because again, this is all hell breaks loose. You know, people are dying left and right. You know, Kara gets poisoned and willingly takes the poison because she sees it as a sign of faith or an act of faith to show Dr. Mabuse, like, I didn't sell you out.
Yeah.
So I will poison myself for you. The Count ends up getting killed. Like, everyone's dying, man.
Yeah.
It's people are getting bombed. They try to kill the prosecutor.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in the office, so his office just gets bombed.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That
was a cool scene.
It's insane how all of a sudden the movie transitions from this sort of slow-paced crime drama to an action-packed thriller.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, and it's almost unexpected. I think that's probably unfair, but I don't expect a silent film to do that.
To transition like that?
Or to be so grandiose.
Yeah.
Right? To have all of these, you know, special effects and plot points and all of this interconnectedness and especially like in pyrotechnics. You know?
Especially, and then they have, then there's a shootout towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Dude, I want everyone to keep that sort of street in mind when we watch M because it's very similar.
I thought it looked familiar.
Yeah. You've seen M. So
yeah. Because when I got my Criterion and you fucking lost it on me, you're like, you have to watch it.
Just watch it right now.
I watched it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like that.
Yeah, when they kind of corner him in the street, there's sort of a shot sort of similar to that in this.
Because M isn't silent, right?
No.
That's right. No, M's not silent. No. I've only seen it once, but now I'm going to have to watch. I'll get to see it a second.
We got one more and then M.
Yeah. But yeah, so it just, and I think maybe that's another reason why I like the second half, the last half so much more is because it's now picking up. Like, oh, okay, here we go.
We've had setup, now let's have follow through.
Yeah. Right. And most of the silent films we've done, there is rare setup and follow through. Like, I know we haven't done this, but again, since I just recently watched it, The Kid, there's setup for certain things and there are follow through for certain things, but like the whole dream sequence, like what the fuck was that all about? Like the setup was there, but I'm like, but there was no follow up to that. Like what was up with that?
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that. Yes, everything that we just sat through 2.5 hours of is now getting paid off.
Yeah.
And again, I know I've been repeating myself, but I think that's another reason why the last half I really like more than the first half.
Yeah. Something as innocuous as, just like that it seems like it's not going to be important, the den with the blind counterfeiters. Mm-hmm. And then of course it ends up being extremely important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you,
sure,
since you, unlike me, because I I mean, I'm pretty sure people figured it out. I watched both parts back to back.
I know.
Why do you think the unraveling of everything is? Because that's how I kind of saw it as the unraveling of all of Dr. Mabuse's plans and schemes and everything. That's what seems to have drove him insane.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true, or would you, considering you had time to sit with part 1 and then part 2?
Yeah. Well, part 2 was just yesterday.
Oh, well, that's true.
But
well, that's still 24 hours more than me.
That's a good point. Yeah, I've tried to think about it because I think it's something he's never felt before, which is guilt, right? Mm-hmm. He's having these hallucinations of the people that he's murdered or had killed, right? Also brilliantly done by Fritz Lang.
Yeah. The transition from the blind men to
them,
to the victims.
So good.
Yeah.
They're all wearing the same thing. They're all wearing the dark eye makeup. It's very cool. I don't know. It's all these things he's finally lost, right? Mm-hmm. Which is something he's never experienced before, right?
Right.
We don't really know how long he's been doing stuff like this, but we assume it's a while. Since he has all of these things already just in place, right? These are standards, right? Him being all of these different characters, that's standard for him, right?
Right.
To where even as you can see behind him when he's at his getting ready station, they're all perfectly organized and, by number and by category. And so he's lost, right? Mm-hmm. Not used to that. He never thought that would happen, right? He's never prepared to lose, right? Which, why would you?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're that successful, why would you ever, have a failure plan in case?
So with that, it's his first time really thinking about, well, what have I done, right?
Right.
And what's going to happen to me? Mm-hmm. And I think all of that happens to him all at one time, right? Mm-hmm. Dealing with all of those emotions and all of those things and all of these outside forces that are now crumbling down upon him. I think that's probably what drives him insane, right? He's having like an existential crisis.
Yeah.
And it just it breaks him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the fact that he's picking up all that counterfeit money, like,
and the visual representation they give him with the makeup, so good.
Yeah. That he's physically,
it's like he's aged 80 years.
Yeah.
In that bunker, right? Or in that wherever hideout.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, and it's such a good way to end the story because, in part 1, I was convinced. I was like, yeah, he's going to get away with it.
Sure.
Like, there's going to be no repercussions for this. And I still even thought that during a good chunk of the last half. I was like, he's still going to get away with it. He's got backup plans to backup plans. He's going to get away with it. And I like that. No, like Fritz Lang's like, nah, he's not going to get away with it.
Well, I wonder how the book ends. But also, it's like, I was hoping he would get away with it because I want to see, and those of you listening, if you know of one, let me know. I want to see an older film, right? Have a sort of evil triumphs over good ending because they really don't exist, especially in American filmmaking, especially during the Hays Code eras where good can never, or good always has to triumph over evil. Like that, there's no exception.
The only movie I can think of, don't laugh at me, but literally it's the only one I can think of. That's because this movie was set up to be that. Was Avengers: Infinity War.
No, it's an older movie.
Well, right? I know. But that's what I'm saying. That's
terrible example.
That's what I'm saying. That the only movie that I can actually think of is a newer movie. But again, that movie was set up to have the good guys.
Oh, well, there's tons of modern examples.
Yeah.
My favorite probably being Requiem for a Dream.
That's true.
But
well, what's the evil in that? The drug?
I guess.
The addiction?
Their actions? I don't know. But they all lose.
That's true. Jared Leto lost an arm.
Yep.
God, I was talking about that movie the other day.
Were you? That's so good.
I was like, man, yeah, but that whole last half of the quick cuts of everything.
I was watching Pi the other day. Jesus, man.
I know it's getting a re-release.
It's getting a re-release.
Anyway, but I think I agree with you. I think it would have been interesting had he still gotten away with it.
Well, and I'm also putting too much on foreign filmmakers, right? Of 100 years ago. I'm still saying like, well, you guys are kind of fucked up, right? Like, you guys aren't beholden to any sort of like ethics code. Like, why don't you just go ahead and
That's true.
Let that baby burn in Destiny. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do? And no.
Yeah.
Go ahead and let those babies eat poison in Phantom Carriage. Why not? What do you care, right?
Yeah. Let the child murderer get away with it in him.
But of course, like that's not how it works, and that wasn't the point, right? The whole point of Phantom Carriage was the morality tale.
Oh, I thought you were about to say the point of this movie. I was like, what do you mean?
And the whole point about Destiny was you can't escape death, but why would you sacrifice someone else's life for you, right?
Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
This one is sort of like, this is sort of like a crime never pays. That's such a simple, stupid answer. This one is.
I feel like it's more like that even the most planned criminal can still fail.
You would almost say that it's almost like crime's fun till it isn't, which is what Scorsese is so good at.
Yeah, shout out to our Scorsese series. Yeah, crime is fun until it isn't.
Until it isn't.
Until you got to bury a body in the woods and ruin your nice new caddy.
Until you're looking for helicopters high on cocaine. You know what I mean?
That's the best part of it.
It's so good.
Dude, R.I.P. to Ray Liotta.
Dude, R.I.P. I saw Cocaine Bear.
I was about to say, and isn't it funny, he played a character high on cocaine, paranoid, and it was in a movie about a bear getting high off cocaine.
Cocaine.
I heard Cocaine Bear's insane.
It's not a good movie either.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No. I loved a good portion of this movie, or these movies. Technically, it's two.
Yeah, technically, we didn't mention that. Technically, I mean, yes, we've said the movies are in two parts. Technically, they are considered two separate movies, but it's one cohesive.
Yeah, like I said, they came out a month apart in 1922.
I mean, the same could be said for, again, I'll just use Avengers. Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. They were filmed back-to-back and released like 6 months apart.
Can I tell you what I was hoping for? And I thought it would have been really cool.
What?
Before I knew he was going to be a main character in Our Prosecutor, I was kind of hoping he would just be in the background sometimes. And that death will always be in all of his movies, right?
Oh, that would have been... okay.
I would have been like, oh, fuck, that would have been really cool.
Like, oh,
but
shit!
Then I was like, oh, he's a main character. Okay, well, then I guess that's... And then
he's sort of in the movie now.
So, yeah, I was like, oh, he's like in it. I was so used to him being death that for a while, that's all I could see.
Uh-huh.
But... I mean, once this movie got going and once it, started picking up pace and started picking up story, completely changed into the prosecutor. He wasn't that stone-faced. I mean, he's still stone-faced, but he wasn't that stone-faced death that I was so used to.
Yeah. You know who he reminded me of when he was first trying on the disguise?
Huh.
He reminded me of fucking Kurt Russell in Tombstone. A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, great mustache.
Yeah.
You're right.
Kurt
Russell, man.
Dude, shout out to Kurt Russell. He is the best.
Thanks for listening.
Do you imagine fucking Kurt Russell?
No, I can't. I can't and I won't.
What would you have done? He was like, yeah, man, I listen. Like,
yeah,
that whole episode of Dr. Mabuse, that was awesome.
Yeah, dude, I fucking listen every week, man. You guys skipped over so much.
No, I agree. There were parts I did like. Again, it's, we've said it before on other movies. Like I'm gonna use a Ghost Story for example. It is a litmus test. But honestly, if you can get through the first half and make it to the second half, you will be rewarded. Because I still would recommend people watch this in its entirety.
Yeah.
Don't just try to go to the last half.
Yeah.
You need the setup. to understand the payoff.
Definitely.
But if you can make it through that 2-hour mark and then get into the last half, dude, you're golden. You're golden.
Yeah, and again, the first part of the movie, you're just like, oh, this is really cool because this is what I would think of as like even a modern day crime drama. This is what it is, right? This is organized crime, right? Which is really cool.
Yeah, we all forget that Jeremy loves organized crime.
I do very much. Anybody who's looking for a new member of your organized crime syndicate, I am available.
I'll just make you a bookkeeper.
I will be living in McKinney, so that's where I'll be. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I loved it, but I might be too dumb. You know? It's one of those where I always just self-deprecate because I'm like, it's me. It's got to be me because I know people love this movie, right? I know people praise it and they love it, and I love it, right?
Right.
But do I deserve to love it because I got bored, right?
I mean...
I try not to beat myself up about stuff like that, but I wish I hadn't. I wish I could just be like, yeah, man, I'm in this for the long haul, right?
Yeah. I mean...
Without getting bored, but there were parts where I was like, I'm just going to look down for a second. Oh, fuck, let me rewind it. I had to do that 5 times.
You know, well, you're a braver soul than me. If I missed something, I was like, oh,
you just missed it?
I missed it.
No, man, I wasn't. I'm like, what if that was super important, right? I can't risk it because I need to follow the story.
Yeah, but I mean, again, you know, to piggyback off of you, there were things about the movie I liked. I didn't hate it because, again, that last half is great.
Yeah.
Would I ever watch it again?
Interesting question.
Knowing what I know in the first half, I would probably just watch the second half again. I would probably only put in the first disc to get that first 10 minutes, the introduction of everything, and then immediately just jump to the last half.
I would watch it again.
Okay.
Because I knew I could look away and I wouldn't be afraid to. I think that's probably the biggest thing is I was terrified to look away because I'm going to miss something, right? I'm going to miss a dialogue card.
Well, right? And now that you know, you can
now
safely...
that I know what's going on, I can just kind of look over here for a second. Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, if Haley...
Or just have it on.
Yeah, you know, like if Haley comes in the room like, oh, what are you watching? You're like, oh, it's just Dr. Mabuse. You know, he's doing this right here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, the conversation would be like, ugh, what is this?
Oh, never mind. I'm going in the other room.
Yeah. I'm moving out. I go, okay, what?
What? I say the other room. You told me y'all are in a 1-bedroom.
We are in a 1-bedroom, yeah.
But, well, Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we did yada yada over stuff, but in my opinion, we hit the major stuff.
For sure.
And, you know, we geeked out over how did Fritz Lang even pull any of that off.
He's so good. And it's not going to get any worse from here. No. I think maybe the presentation of some of this is going to be a little different because we're going to be slowly moving out of silent films and into sound. Once we hit M, which will be our first sound film, he does stuff with sound that's like what he's doing with visuals.
Yeah, and right? You know, and I'm excited to see his American films. As well, because you know, like I said earlier, I have seen M.
Can I tell you something? Me too. I haven't seen a lot of them. So
really,
yeah. I love Fritz Lang, so I have faith in all of his filmography. So
well, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier off mic with David Lowery. You know.
Yep.
Yeah. So Jeremy.
Yes.
Are you ready to know what we're talking about next week?
I am.
Okay. So I want to piggyback off what you said that, you know, with Fritz Lang, it only gets better from here.
Yeah.
For my next pick, with Tim, I will be honest, unfortunately from here, it does
it dip?
Wax and wane. Okay? And you'll know what I'm saying. You'll know.
I've seen the list. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. And not to say that I hate the movies I picked.
No.
I'm just saying that critics didn't really like them. But they really loved this one. Next week is Edward Scissorhands.
Cool.
Been a long time coming. I'm sure someone out there is like, well, what about Beetlejuice? We already did Beetlejuice.
We already did it. Which I barely remember.
So. I know. Well, it's because we had to do that one ahead of time because we had to record it and then hold it because of the 100th episode, Which, oh fuck, I forgot to mention that too.
Fuck.
The podcast is 4 years old now.
Oh yeah, we made it to 4 years, guys. Isn't that cool?
Edward Scissorhands.
Right.
Like I mentioned last week, this movie technically came out between Batman and Batman Returns. But like we mentioned last week, just listen to last week's episode. We wanted to talk about both Batman movies.
Which technically, I also got my double feature this week either. Anyway.
Yeah.
Right? So, look at that. Look at us go.
So, this movie threw me for a loop the first time I ever saw it. Because it didn't feel like a Tim Burton movie. No. But now that I'm older, I'm like, it 100% was.
Yeah.
Because, as we'll go on to discover, you know, Tim has always been associated with using dark colors in his films. He flipped it on this one.
Yeah, well, you know, and I mentioned it during Batman where, you know, there are moments in Beetlejuice 2 where he's just using just hard lighting on black painted surfaces, right? It's so bizarre. And it feels weird, but I like it, right? It just feels very Tim Burton to me. Yeah. But this one's different. Yeah.
Well, and then, of course, this is the first time that Tim will work with a longtime collaborator, and will do multiple of these movies, Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
This is the first time they work together, which, of course, the next couple on my list, Johnny's in.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I'm really excited to talk about this, especially because I want to geek out so hard with the Vincent Price cameo.
Yes.
Technically, it is a cameo.
Yes.
Because he's not in it for more than probably 10 minutes.
Yeah. Vincent Price, amazing. I'll tell you my dad and I's, you know, stuff about that when we get there, because Dad and I are huge fans. Yeah. Always have been, always will be. You just finished... This is going to be so stupid, so don't think this is going to be fun.
Okay.
Or don't think it's going to be serious. You just finished watching all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Right.
How excited are you that Diane Wiest is in...
is in this? I'm going to be honest, I always forget she's in this.
Yeah, she's the
mom.
The mom, yeah.
And I also forget Alan Arkin is in this as well.
Yeah.
And fucking Anthony Michael Hall.
I was gonna say Anthony Michael Hall's in it.
And this is like him,
a weird transition period between nerd to hunk.
Yeah,
and he's almost there.
To use a modern term, he had a fucking glow up.
He had a glow up for sure.
Yeah, you watch Breakfast Club and you see Brian, and you're like, ew.
And then you
watch this and you're like, what the fuck?
Oh no! Then you watch Dead Zone and you're like, that's what's up, bro.
Well, that's what's up.
That's what's up.
Also, wasn't Christopher Walken in Dead Zone?
Well, Christopher Walken's in the movie.
Oh, that's right. This is the TV show.
The TV show, Anthony Michael Hall is that character.
Was that? But wasn't that after he did Scissorhands?
Yes. Yeah, it was way after.
But he was already getting hotter.
Yeah, he was getting a little hotter. Yeah.
In Scissorhands.
But he's not all the way there yet. His attitude stops him from being super hot in this one to me.
That's
all right?
That's true. Yeah.
He's too mean.
Yeah. Fuck his character, which we'll get into next week. And then of course he goes on to be in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to get a full-on Diane Wiest infection, so...
I got an infection this week. Oh, man, I'm so sorry. Yeah, a Diane Wiest infection. And it's one of my favorite bits of them just, like, staring at each other.
Yeah.
Like yeast! Shout out to Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah. Missed that show.
Yeah.
NBC, I wish you would have just given it a full final season, not 10 episodes, but whatever.
By the way, if you've made it this far, congratulations. My next one is Spies. Just to give you a heads up. Again, the last time I'm going to do this, to give you a 2-week heads up.
The last silent film.
Yeah, it is the last silent film. Spies.
But yeah.
So yeah. But dude, Edward Scissorhands, can't wait, man.
Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Well, everyone, we hope that you enjoyed this kind of all over the place episode of Dr. Mabuse, the Gambler. And we will see you next week for Edward Scissorhands.